Hey everybody, welcome back to Rocky Mountain Homestead. My name is Angela and today I am finally redoing my apple pie filling recipe. I have a little bit of free time in the afternoon, so I figured I'd take you guys along. I just got some more apples from my Azure standard order and we're going to get this video remade and uploaded and get some apple pie filling on our pantry shelves. And today I'm going to share with you the recipe that I use. I have tweaked things over the years because apple pie filling, when you can it almost always has oozed for me in the past, and it, comes out of the jar and makes a mess. But this is a way that I have done it for the past couple years that works. There's no siphoning, no oozing, no sticky mess, no loss whatsoever, and it's a perfect product every time. So this is the only way that I do my apple pie filling, and I'm going to go ahead and share that with you guys. Now I need to get these apples washed up, but before I do, I wanted to share with you the apples that I use. So these are just some Gala apples that I used, that I actually bought from Azure Standard. I honestly like to do Honeycrisp, but they are not in season at the moment. So usually I do Honeycrisp and Granny Smith, but today I'm going to do the Gala apples and the Granny Smith apples. So any type of pie type apples work great. You can go ahead and look those types up, but this is what I'm going to use, and I do about a half and half mixture of these apples. And another thing that I want to share with you is the recipe that I use calls for about 6 quarts. It's actually the Amish, I don't have it right now, it's out of my reach, but it's the Amish canning cookbook, and it calls for 6 quarts of apples. And roughly what I have found is about 10 to 12 pounds is what you want to use. Now you're going to be taking the skin off of these. You're going to be coring them and slicing them up. So there is a little bit of loss. So when I measure out my apples, I like to just go a little bit more than less. So I hit about the 12-pound mark when I weigh out my apples. And like I said, 10 to 12 pounds is a sweet spot roughly for 6 quarts. There's so many different variations depending on the size of the apple you use and all that. But I like to measure it out about 12 pounds. And then, by the time you core it and peel it and everything, there's some loss to that weight. So between 10 to 12 pounds of apples is what you want when you're measuring out 6 quarts. Now I'm going to go ahead and get these washed and scrubbed up, peeled, cored. I'm going to spare you that part of the video and just cut to the chase and get these in some lemon water, and then I'll bring you back when they're all sliced up, prepped, and ready to go. Okay, so I have my apples sliced, ready to go. They are a little bit brown. I had them in some lemon water, but I had a few interruptions. I had a medical call I needed to go answer, and I had to make dinner for my family. So I don't mind. They're going to be caramelized by the time I'm done canning them. I'm not too concerned about the appearance. So I have all my apples peeled over here. So for this recipe, you can do some water and some apple juice. The original recipe calls for 2.5 cups of water and 5 cups of apple juice. I like to just round that up, and I do usually 3 cups of water and 5 cups of apple juice, but today I am going to do all 8 cups apple juice just for a little bit more flavor. So I have 8 cups of apple juice. I have 2 cups of clear gel, and now what that looks like is this. You want the cook type, and that is what I am using. So I have 2 cups of clear gel powder. I have 1 cup of lemon juice, and with this you're going to want to use lemon juice that's bottled. You don't want to use fresh lemon juice because the acidity levels can vary. So bottled lemon juice, I have 1 cup of that. And then here I kind of broke it up into bowls because my other bowls are in the dishwasher at the moment. But over here I have 6 cups of sugar, and it looks a little bit tan and white because I used up the rest of our granulated white sugar. And then I have my organic cane sugar. So that is what we are using for this recipe. And then I have 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon, and I have 1 teaspoon of nutmeg. And I like to do a little shake or 2 of pumpkin pie spice in mine. And those are my spices I'm going to be adding. I have all my things washed up. I have my lids in warm water, my rings ready, my debubbler, and all the things. I usually have smaller bowls, but like I said, my dishwasher is full. So this is my white vinegar to wipe the rims of my jars. I have my jars in here, my quarts, and I'm going to be simmering that. But right now I need the stove top to get my water ready to blanch my apples. And then this is going to be the pot that I'm going to be using for our apple pie filling. So the very first thing I'm going to do is dump my dry ingredients into my pot. And I'm going to dump my sugar, my clear gel, which I actually need to buy more. I am almost out. My cinnamon, my nutmeg, and then just literally a little, oop, that was actually more than I usually use, but I'm sure it'll be just fine. And I am going to just mix those powders together. I am still waiting for my water over here to come to a boil so I can blanch my apples, but I will bring you back as soon as that's at a boil and I'm ready to blanch. Okay, my water is now boiling, so I'm going to add my apples and blanch them for 1 minute. Okay, now that I have my apples blanched, I'm going to turn this on medium heat and add in my apple juice. I do want to just say you want to stir this constantly until it comes to a boil. And since we have a little ways to go, I will bring you back when we reach that boil. Okay, it is now starting to thicken up a bit. You can, while you're stirring, you will feel the clumps of the mixture gelling, which is what you want. And we are really close to having this come to a light boil. So go ahead and continue stirring just a little bit longer. Okay, I hope it's not too steamed up, but this is now coming to a light boil. So what I am going to do, see if I stop stirring, you can see it bubbling. I'm going to go ahead and add the lemon juice. And you are going to stir this constantly for 1 minute. And I just set my timer. So just keep stirring constantly for a minute. This mixture is going to be very, very thick. I'm going to get ready to shut my timer off here. I'm just going to swap hands. All right, you're going to go ahead and shut your heat off. And you're now going to add in your drained, blanched apples. And I'm going to go back for the rest real quick. Okay, and once you get those all added in, you're going to mix that up and get them all covered. In the mixture. Okay, now what we are going to do is take our jars that were simmering And we are going to start packing our jars. Now the headspace that I like to do is a little bit different, and I'll explain it. So I usually fill mine about halfway. Hopefully this is a little bit better of a view. So I like to fill mine halfway and then start debubbling and make sure it's all packed in there good. And get the air bubbles out. And then what I like to do is continue filling it up. Now, some people do a 1/2 inch headspace. Some people do an inch headspace. I have usually done an inch, which is what it calls for. But throughout the years of canning this, I've also come to realize that there is a lot of siphoning and oozing. So for me personally, okay, now if you can see right here at this part of the jar where it starts curving, that's about where I do my headspace too. And I have never had an issue with oozing. I have never had an issue with any type of siphoning whatsoever. And it has always worked wonderfully. And this is the way that I have done it for years and the way that I continue to do it. So right where it starts curving is where I fill it to. And I will continue filling the rest of them the same way. I'm going to debubble it one more time. And I like to take my time with this part and just make sure no bubbles are in it whatsoever, especially with apple pie filling. All right, that's where I want my headspace. We're gonna go ahead and clean the rim of this really well because it is so sticky. And then I'm going to get one of my lids that has been in warm water. And I will bring you back when these are all done. Okay, I was able to get 7 quarts out of this. So I'm going to put the lid on now and wait for it to come to a rapid boil and then start my timer. And I'll bring you back when we are there. Okay, so now it is at a rolling boil. And for my elevation, I need to have this set at 35 minutes. Now over here, it says to go ahead and can it for 25 minutes if you are 0 to 1,000 feet, for 30 minutes if you are at 1,001 feet to 3,000 feet, or 35 minutes if you are at 3,001 feet and over. We are about 7,600 feet. So I have mine for 35 minutes and I will bring you back when we are done. Also to note, I did have some left over, so you may or may not, like I said, it varies on the size of the apples you use and the type, but once again, generally between 10 to 12 pounds of apples to get your 6 quarts. And like I said, I did about 12 pounds. So I do have a little extra that I will set aside in the fridge to use for something. Okay, we are going to shut the heat off now that the timer is off, and we are going to let this sit for about 5 minutes to let the jars cool down. And I will bring you back in 5 minutes. have 7 quarts of apple pie filling. I am happy with that. Usually I get 6 quarts, so I guess I just used a little bit more apples than usual. Like I said, it can vary with how big the apples are, but I tend to always do between 10 to 12 pounds of apples, and I did 12 today. So I'm going to let these sit for 12 to 24 hours before I take the rings off and get them washed up and labeled and up on the pantry shelf. These are really convenient to have on hand. If you have company last minute, you can whip something up for dessert. You can use a pie for a really deep dish pie. I would suggest using 2 of these. I also have a recipe, and I'll try and post the video at the end if you have not seen it. It is using about 2 of these jars for an apple crisp recipe, which is absolutely delicious. It's an old-fashioned style apple crisp recipe, and it's delicious, and it's really easy to make if you have these on hand. And there's just so many different uses. It doesn't have to be apple pie. You can put this on ice cream, anything really. So I am going to call it a night because it is late and I am tired and I have a few things left to do. So I hope this video is helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel and have not yet subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button before you leave. And I'm so glad you guys hung out with me and watched, and I'm glad I got to remake this video to get it up and posted. So I will see you guys on the next video. Until then, take care and God bless.